Good morning. It's Tuesday, July 7th, 2015. My name is Chris, and this is Tech Talk Today, episode 194. My name is Chris, and I'm getting ready for a crowd today. I invited folks over for episode 100 of the Linux Unplugged program. We've had about 5 or 6 people RSVP, I think. I don't know how many of those people actually show up, but I got enough burgers to serve 20. So if you're in, no, I'm kidding. I don't know. At this point, you're too late because you're probably listening right now. But maybe you can come down on the weekend and get an extra burger. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. If you want to hear more about that, tune into episode 100 of Unplugged today. We're going to have a little celebration. But in the meantime, we have some news to get into today. So let's bring in our Mumble Room. Time-appropriate greetings, El Mumble Room.
I'm appropriate.
Oh, hello.
Hello. Good night.
Hey. Okay, so I know some of you are pretty hardcore Firefox fans. I think, Firefox is a great project. And today there's a lot of talk about changes coming to Firefox down the road. 2 big emails went out from the head of the Firefox project. Camp, I believe, is his last name, if I'm recalling from my fuzzy memory this morning. And he announced several, Dave Camp, Firefox's director of engineering. He outlined what he calls 3 pillars of the new Firefox: uncompromised quality, best of the web, and uniquely Firefox. I was going to say un-Firefox, uniquely Firefox. Now, this is really an interesting kind of breakdown and a change of focus. They say it's going to be uncompromised quality to strip out Firefox's half-baked ideas, i.e. removal of features, to carry them through to the completion so that they're polished, functional, and a joy to use. This program is internally dubbed Great or Dead, as in if Firefox devs can't make a feature great, it should be killed off altogether. Camp says in the email that electrolysis, Firefox's massively overdue implementation of per-tab processes, is one of the first features that needs to be focused on to get the kind of snappy experience we need to make for Firefox to feel great. This is really encouraging. I don't quite understand how that could have ever not been the threshold. How is the threshold ever not to ship something great? How the hell is that? How is that ever the project culture and standard?
And it's funny because I'm actually looking at one of the images they generated from this little campaign thing, and has Yahoo search in the best of the web thing. And honestly, it's been disappointing every time I've used it. For me.
Yeah, and the other ways, another quote unquote best of the web is establishing. They said more partnerships, which some people are getting a little. Oh, what does that mean? What does that mean?
Sponsored
more Yahoo
tiles are best of the web?
Yeah. Is that what that means exactly? Ours says it's a more nebulous pillar that concerns itself with the add-ons community. Something else coming. It looks like they're going to finally pull the plug on XUL and XBL, the binding language, and they're just going to move all the way over to HTML5 for some of the UI components. But that means a lot of extensions are completely out the door. So that's going to be a huge deal too. This is really, really major stuff coming to Firefox if they go through with all of this. Revamping from XUL is going to be huge. And it's interesting because Firefox is all about the web, and they even kind of said that, we're all about the open web and all open standards, and then for us we use XUL, and not that it isn't great for us, but that the rest of the web hasn't picked it up, and we need to go the direction the rest of them are. They have to do these things. These things needed to be done a couple of years ago. Electrolysis, for example, when it came out that Google had a beta browser with process isolation, how many years ago? Does anybody know how many years ago it was when Chrome was originally in beta? Are we 3, 4, or 5 years now?
Sounds about right.
And we've
Isn't
known
everything with Google in beta?
Well, yeah, but we've known since then that the new competitor on the market was going to have per process tab isolation baked in, no extra add-ons needed, no software under development. It was baked in. And since that time, they still haven't shipped it. I hope they pull this off because, man, they need it. And, this is what they have to do, so they're making the right moves. And if anybody out there has any more insights or thoughts, please share them with me. I wish the best for the Firefox project, and I'd love to have more insights and see where they're going with this. techtalktoday.reddit.com if you know more. Now, you don't have to worry about the size of that Chrome browser, do you? It is a big browser and takes up a lot of RAM, doesn't it? But that's okay. Samsung is bringing 2 terabyte solid-state drives, SSDs, in 2 terabytes, guys, to the home PC coming soon. Which, of course, what do I think of when I hear this? Because you know what? If you go get the 2 terabyte, like their 850 Pro, like their high-end nice model, it's going to be a $1,000 drive. Now, they're going to have some that are in the range of like $800, which is pretty incredible. Pretty incredible, 2 terabytes for $800 in an SSD. Kind of blows my freaking mind. But what that really makes me excited about is that means like the 750s and the 1 terabytes are going to come down even further in price. I hope this puts price pressure on Intel as well, because those are the ones I really want. And this is good all around. 2 terabyte SSDs. Could you imagine that like in a RAID? Oh, man. Once you get to this size, once you start getting to 2 terabytes, then I'm starting to be able to make the case where I would not need any spinning media. Like right now when we have big storage, like we prefer to buy smallest is 4 terabyte drives right now. But, in a pinch, you could go 2 terabyte, I suppose, if you had the money. Theoretically, if you have the money, you could now have SSD storage, incredible SSD speeds with spinning disk capacity. I think this is pretty cool. I don't know who's
I guess it depends on the pricing, right? Because I mean, if a 1 terabyte disk now, if you're buying like an 850 Pro, is less than $500. It's like $450 to in the 500.
Isn't that amazing?
There. So you're paying like around 45 cents a gigabyte for a 1 terabyte
but
disk.
Wouldn't you think that would just come
good
down?
Performance characteristics.
Wouldn't you think so?
I don't think so.
No?
I think if you look at how they've always priced these things out, the bigger ones are usually slightly more economical because I guess they have, it's one less controller they have to buy. So if you were going to buy, 2 terabytes of NAND over 2 1 terabyte disks, you now have like 2 controllers, 2 more enclosures, all these things around it, as well as the NAND that's on the
that does bring up the cost,
controller board there.
Yeah.
So the cost is brought down a little bit, but I think it's also just to force people into certain price segments as well.
Well, I was saying what Corky, I was reading what Corky was saying here. He says the implementation for SATA 3 are still too incomplete at the moment. So there's many competing protocols. I didn't realize this. I haven't been following this very closely. He said I would leave it a year or two to get into large SSDs. I didn't realize there's competing protocols for SATA 3.
Yeah, and also one thing to consider is that once you go above like 512 gig of NAND on these things, you're actually starting to saturate SATA's speeds. And so it almost makes more sense to buy a bunch of 256 or 512 gig drives if the pricing works out.
When you say that, you mean that you just can't, by saturating SATA speeds, do you mean you just couldn't write to the entire drive as fast?
You could write to the entire drive, but what you're going to find is that the NAND is fast enough to keep up with the bus.
Yeah.
And so you're not actually gaining any speed by going to 1 terabyte with just a single disk.
Sure.
But you'll find you gain speed by doing like a RAID 0 of 2 512 gig disks.
Ah, I see what you're saying. So if
you
you
won't
speed,
gain IOPS.
Right. But
you'll increase speed.
Good tip.
So it is something worth to consider, especially if the pricing is like the 256 gig disk is half the price of the 512 gig disk.
Yeah.
As long as you have the space and as long as you have the SATA ports, it makes a lot of sense.
256 is definitely
if you need high density, like if you had a laptop and you can only have 1 disk, then the 2 terabyte may be right for you. But if you have a desktop and you can hold like 10 disks, you may want to look at like a 256 gig or 512. It depends on what performs right. But in general, you're going to find that these things have such high bandwidth already that you're just going to want to buy a ton of small ones if you can.
Yeah.
Because they're so cheap.
Yeah, especially the 256s now. So that's awesome.
Yeah, because that's like $150.
Yeah. Wow.
Pricing works out nicely.
Huh. That's good to know. So that's the Samsung. That's the Samsung that's doing well. That's the Samsung that's got some good stuff going for it. The Samsung mobile division, though, I don't know what the hell's going on. They're seeing their 7th straight profit decline. The world's largest smartphone maker by shipments has seen its software. It's seen a decline again this quarter, which makes it the 7th in a row. It's getting kind of ridiculous. Now these numbers are in won, so don't flip out when I read these numbers to you. But South Korean technology giant, this is what they like to call them, Samsung, says it expects to earn just 6.9 trillion Korean won, so $6 billion, in operating profit for the 3 months ended in June. That's a 4% decline from the same period a year earlier. It said revenue will likely drop to 48 trillion won, down 8.4% from the same period last year. Overall, the year-over-year profit and sales declines come amid a likely robust growth in Samsung semiconductor operations. So semiconductor operations, interestingly enough, doing very well for them. The S6 is not doing well at all. They say they have a glut, in this Wall Street Journal article, a glut of unsold Galaxy S6 devices, particularly the white-colored devices, and not enough Galaxy S6 Edge smartphones to sell. So they have too many of the white regular S6s, like a glut of them, and they don't have enough S6 Edges. and they're
Possibly
just
just bad market research there.
I guess. Yeah, that's a bit of a mistake. Wow. So for the second quarter, this is what shocks me. This is what I can't wrap my head around. For the second quarter, just for the second quarter, analysts estimate the company shipped 71 million to 76 million smartphones, with the two Galaxy S6 phones accounting for slightly more than 20% of the shipments. How can you sell almost 76 million? How can you ship almost 76 million phones and still be losing money?
Well, you're performing worse, not necessarily losing. Did it say they were losing money or they were performing worse than before?
Well,
Because they had a lot of
their profits
explosive
are
growth,
down. You take
the
that
previous phones. Yeah.
Because they're making too many separately different devices. They're not making one or two models.
I cannot figure out who does make money selling Android. I know that Microsoft makes money and Google makes money. Microsoft is making money off the patent licensing, and Google makes money off of the deals with the OEMs for the Play services and the support contracts and all of that. But I don't think LG really makes any money at this. I don't know how well Sony's doing. There was just an interview with their CEO this morning that said that they're going to stick with it no matter how much they bleed. That was today. Obviously, Samsung, the largest Android manufacturer, isn't making enough money at this. Moto just is getting sold to Lenovo. HTC is losing its ass. Who is it in Android that makes money?
Huawei last year apparently got 33% growth. I don't know if that's specifically from Android, however.
No, I bet Huawei or Xiaomi. Xiaomi is also Xiaomi is another one. I bet that.
So the China companies.
Yeah. Great point. The ones in particular, de-Google themselves as much as possible. Like some of them, that's really, I'm just trying to figure out who it is in the U.S. then, and maybe just say the Western nations that makes money on Android, that actually ships a product. No, Xiaomi. I guess so. Yeah, Logcat. I guess Xiaomi is pronounced like, I don't know.
Xiaomi.
Yeah, it's yeah. I'll keep trying it, but yeah, recently I was told it's pronounced, even though it's spelled with an X, it's pronounced Xiaomi, actually is how I believe that it's me at the end, but I'm not sure. Or Yomi, or jeez, I'm sorry. I am trying to get it right. Did you guys hear about this story about, I mean, the news media just loves a hacking group that gets hacked, the hackers that hack the hackers. So a hacking team which sells surveillance tech to governments has been exposed by, you ready for this, a major hack. Now, what might be interesting, and we might have more by Thursday for TechSnap, is there seems to be a few bits of goodies that are coming out as part of this hack, like perhaps a undisclosed vulnerability in SELinux that affects Android 4 and above. There's also, it looks to be a vulnerability that affects jailbroken iPhones that was previously rumored but not disclosed, that has come out as part of the stash of stuff. I want to play you this. So this group that got hacked, they're a hacking team. Like, we hacked the hackers. And they're super, super badass. And this is their commercial to sell their services. These are the people that got hacked. This is their commercial. And now tell me you wouldn't want to buy from them.
You have new challenges today.
Yeah, I do.
Sensitive data is transmitted over encrypted channels.
Oh, man.
Often the information you want is not transmitted at all. Your target may be outside your monitoring domain. Is passive monitoring enough? You need more.
And the hacker's head
You want to look through your target's eyes. You have to hack your target.
You have to hack your target. Browsing the web, exchanging documents, receiving SMS, crossing the borders.
You have to hit many different platforms.
Windows, OS 10, iOS, Android, BlackBerry, Symbian, Linux.
You have to overcome encryption and capture relevant
target
data.
Location, messaging, relationships, web browsing, audio, and video. So that's these guys. This is who got hacked, and you can tell they're a super pro operation because that guy has a really deep voice, so you know they're a pro operation. And they were getting more and more, I guess, prestige, and right as that starts to happen, these other hackers came along and smacked them down. I'd love to know the real backstory behind this. I think it's more than we're being led to believe, but this came out late yesterday. It's breaking today, and I think by Thursday we'll probably have a lot more on it. And anybody in the Mumble Room have anything from this story before we jump to the next one? Actually, our last one. Going once, going twice. Corky says, I like this. Corky, when he's getting the mumble room again. He says, it's sad that the apparent clients seem to be oppressive governments looking to jail executive dissidents, or execute dissidents, rather than attempting fraud. Yeah, that's really who they're selling to, right, is your target domain and things like that. That's all military speak. All right, brace your wallets. No, it's not a Steam sale. It might actually be even worse. It's Amazon's Prime Day. Everybody knows about it, but I got to cover it because I just want to give you a heads up. This is a daily show, so it's a nice opportunity to give you a heads up on stuff like this. I can't believe it. I really can't believe it. But on July 16th, it's going to be 20 years of Amazon Prime. What? Yeah, 20 years of Amazon Prime on July 16th. That's next Thursday. Not this Thursday, but next Thursday, okay? And it's Amazon says they're going to put Black Friday to shame. And I don't know what the hell that means, but they say next week Amazon turns 20, and on the eve of its birthday, the company introduces Prime Day, a global shopping event, which sounds like it's going to be back every year, offering more deals than Black Friday, exclusively for Prime members in the US, UK, Spain, Japan, Italy, Germany, France, Canada, and Austria. Austria! Look at you guys. You got in on there too. On Wednesday, July 15th, new and existing members in the US will find deals starting at midnight. So starting on July 15th. Oh, okay. On July 15th, and that is next Wednesday. If that would make sense, wouldn't it? So let's see. Their birthday is technically the Friday, I guess, and so on the day before. So yeah, starting 15th on midnight, so that's Wednesday. So you can stay up and watch Unfilter, and then after you finish Unfilter, you can go shopping. Let's see. On July 15th, new and existing members of the U.S. will find new details starting at midnight, with new details starting as often as every 10 minutes. Oh, these guys. They can shop thousands of lightning deals, 7 popular deals of the day, and receive unlimited fast free shipping. Well, there you go. Prime Day. Consumerism Day at Amazon.com. There you go. There you go. And you know what? I don't blame him. Prime's actually not a bad way to go. I've been a Prime member for quite a while, and way before they even had the streaming stuff. So I wanted to mention, if you don't want to spend your money on Amazon Prime Day, you could always go over to patreon.com/today and maybe help out the whole Jupiter Broadcasting Network. Shows that you don't even know about get created from this funding, or things that we're working on that you might not know about. I don't want to say too much, but let's just say, actually, you probably, if you're savvy, you probably have heard about it if you're in the IRC quite a bit. But that's one of the fun things, is we get to work on little skunkworks projects, and sometimes they come to light, sometimes they don't. And that's a nice thing that we get to do without having to really worry about lining up sponsors first and things like that. But even more, outside of that, it has been unbelievably challenging these last few weeks. I don't know if it's because of heat or what, but there's been a lot of little equipment things, just little issues here and there. And so to know that we are not completely up a creek when one of those things happens, we have a little bit of funding we can go pull from. And it's so great because it's the kind of stuff that keeps us on the air. So this funding goes and helps us replace components like these HDMI capture cards run super, super, super hot. Well, one of them is on carpet because of the way the machine's at. Well, you know what? And when it's 90 degrees in the studio and that thing's sitting on carpet, it got too hot. And so we had to replace that. Well, it's $200, or actually $300. And before we had the system set up, that probably would have gone on my personal credit card, really, because we run a pretty tight ship. We don't really want to have a bunch of ads all the time. We don't want to push this too much, so we kind of keep it as tight as we possibly can, but still make everything work. And when we gave us this runway here with this Patreon funding, that's when we started to say, oh man, we can start budgeting a little bit, we can start growing a little bit, and then you started to see things pick up, like our event coverage and our travel and our event, all these things getting more organized. It's starting to make things better across the board, and we're really just getting started. Now we want to start maybe bringing somebody into the studio to help me out full time, and we want to be able to say, we have this baseline of funding to make that possible. It's not dependent on any one particular sponsor. It's not dependent on any one particular affiliate deal that could be taken away and then we'd have to fire the person. It's based on the people. It's based on the funding from the people we're making the shows for. Patreon.com/today if you'd like to help us out, and you get access to the exclusive Patreon activity feed. Thanks to all 552 of you. Now, tomorrow, I don't know, you could always check the calendar, but right now I'm not planning to do a show in the morning. I'm planning to go for a day hike until about the afternoon so I can get back here and work on Unfilter. But I got to get an early start because then I have to make it back here for room for Unfilter. So to do that, I'm going to cancel tomorrow's Tech Talk. So I'll take tomorrow off, Wednesday, so I can go out and get some fresh air. Hopefully it'll be nice weather. But if it turns out to be a totally crappy day or something like that, I might just pop right back in the studio and do a show. So you can always find out by going to jupiterbroadcasting.com/calendar. But right now my intention is not to be in studio tomorrow morning until Unfilter. But BSD Now will still be in the afternoon, and of course Unfilter will be in the evening. And you can find all of that at jupiterbroadcasting.com/calendar. And I also want to thank everybody who goes to techtalktoday.reddit.com to make this show a little bit better. I really appreciate that. End of show clips are always welcome there. Kickstarters of the week are always great. And news stories that you think are interesting and should be discussed are definitely appreciated there. techtalktoday.reddit.com. news.reddit.com. Now, I'm going to leave us with a smartphone commercial. But not one for a phone you've ever seen before, I bet, because it never shipped. It wasn't even a real product. It was sort of like a idea of a product that if you bought into Intel's smartphone platform, you could have a phone just like this without having to do much work and ship it, put your own name on it. Here's the thing. Intel's been pitching this idea for many, many years, so we're going to jump a little bit back in the Wayback Machine and go back to 2012 when Intel thought they really had this mobile thing licked and everybody be picking themselves up an Intel-powered smartphone the next year. Well, I don't think it really turned out like that. But it's still a great and very interesting commercial to watch because I think the real people they're pitching to are the OEMs, not actual end users. But it's one of those commercials that tries to cover all its bases. It's kind of fascinating. So enjoy this. See you right back here on Thursday at jblive.tv, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern.
Greetings, Agent, and welcome to the top-secret Intel testing facility. You're here to learn about this, our latest Intel-powered smartphone. It has an advanced processor inside, the same technology that powers the world's top computers. This phone is supercharged to keep up with your supercharged life. Please come with me. Our engineers will now demonstrate how the advanced Intel processor enables fast web browsing, super responsive apps, and effortless multitasking. With Intel-powered smartphones, doing the things that you love to do has never been easier. This is one of our more groundbreaking features, the advanced 8-megapixel HD camera. It's so fast you can take up to 10 shots per second, so you'll never miss a shot, even in challenging environments. And video quality. Not only can you shoot movies in high-def 1080p, you can watch them as well. So lifelike it makes grown men squeal. With all that technology, you're going to need a long-lasting battery. This one's power optimized to keep up with even our most demanding user. So, you can talk, listen, watch, and play longer without worrying about battery life. They're going to be at that for a while, but you're now qualified to use the newest Intel-powered smartphones. Now get out there and make good use of them. Your life depends on it. Okay, maybe not, but it's a pretty amazing device. You should go check one out.